Okay, guys, so we are having some technical difficulties, which we do apologize about. And let's see. Welcome to the Soulful Pillow Talk. We have a wonderful guest that is on. And hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you two doing?
We're doing great. We just end up having technical difficulties ourselves, right? When it was time to get on. So that's why you didn't see us.
Oh no.
No, you good. Well, you looking cute tonight. What's up, girlie?
Hey, do you notice the earrings?
Oh, beautiful.
Make them look
Love it.
fabulous.
I wonder who made them. Hmm.
Yours truly.
So, before we get started, which we're kind of off again because we kind of started a little late, and I didn't do all the introduction, but it's
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
I'm fine.
Oh no, 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 we cool, we cool. I why?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Am I good on your end?
Yes, yes. Okay, you got your mic over there.
I don't.
Lord.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, okay. Cost probably cost my mic. Is she low? You know, you kind of soft voice though.
I can talk loud if I need to.
You can hear her pretty good.
One more time.
Can you hear her pretty good?
Yeah, I can hear you really good, Laron.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask first, Canada, how is it?
Well, right now it's starting to get cold because we're transitioning into fall. We tend to have really warm summers, like in the 30s and whatnot, but right now it's getting really cold and we tend to have the coldest winters. So I'm just mentally bracing myself. Even though I've lived in Canada my whole life, I still have to mentally prepare myself for the cold.
I can hold it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I ain't mind holding. I always wanted to visit.
You should.
Ooh, what you drinking on?
I'm having water with collagen in it.
So what is that? I know what collagen is, but like, is it powder or
Yeah, it's
it
powder.
has a flavor to it?
Yeah, so I have the strawberry banana one. I don't like the flavorless one. I need to have flavor.
Ah, okay. I used to take pills, but I haven't taken them in a while. Um, but I would like to give you a chance to introduce yourself to our audience, if you don't mind.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Camille. I am based in Canada and I am a content creator as well as an entrepreneur. And basically, how do I describe it? I think I got my start really from TikTok. I think when the pandemic happened, everyone just went to TikTok and just started posting, their content, doing dances and whatnot. And I use the platform as a way to help me discover my voice because I was just very much afraid of being seen and I was afraid of how I would be perceived in terms of my voice because I would just try and tell myself that my voice didn't really matter when in actuality it does. So TikTok allowed me to not only develop my confidence but also find as well as create community. And that's how I met these two lovely individuals on this lovely podcast. So that's a bit of a spiel about me. And again, thank you so much, you two, for having me on your live stream.
Yeah, no problem. Basically, the show that I have with my wife is I solely kind of cater it to trying to promote black love and relationships, but I wanted you to be a part of it because I feel like with you and your dating scene and how I've seen you from kind of maybe not where you started, but somewhere in there to where you at now. One, I'm very proud of the channel that you've created and the stuff that you promote, and because listening to other feminists, I don't get from them, not knocking them, I don't get from them what I get from you. I guess that's
Okay.
the way to say it. And so, like I said, I'm very proud of how you carry yourself and the message that you pass along. And so, I definitely wanted to get you on, not only to talk about what you do, but also in a sense of black love and whatnot. Because
Absolutely.
I can't say that, and not to cut you off, that video of your mom and your dad and how playful they were. Uh, I, that actually kind of did it for me too. Um, because they're, if you don't mind me asking, their age.
So my mother is 57
Okay.
and my dad, he just turned 60 this past June.
Okay. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah. So seeing them being that, of that, I knew they were older than me, and seeing them play full like that it was kind of cool, and I don't think a lot of couples their age you see them, but it's not a lot because everything is serious around that age number.
Hmm.
So yeah, I thought it was cool. I just wanted to bring her up, and also, what you've seen her several times before too,
Yeah.
and again, before we dive into mostly you, what do you think about the scene in the black community when it comes to black love?
Oh, what do I think? Um, it's really hard to answer that. I have a lot of mixed feelings about
Hmm.
it. I think you and Lisa are just I think you two are the epitome of black love, right? Because you just mentioned that you two are very playful. And I wish I could see more of that in black love relationships. Cause like you said, it's so focused on being serious and like it's only focusing on the skin color and then how, black love is equated to struggle. But like what about the fun side of it? What about the playful
Mhm.
side? What about, both parties bringing out their inner child and healing one another, right? Through love. I think that there's such a negative connotation to it now. And I'll be honest with you, it kind of affects me mentally because it's like, how do we get to this state?
Wow. Yeah. Um. Do
That's a
you?
very good question.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, yet another hard question because kind of at the end of the day, you think the essence of being in having purpose would be to find that person that makes you happy, regardless of what their color is. But just being able to have that good, wholesome relationship with the ups and the downs, and still being able to, work your way through it in a healthy manner. I do think we see a lot of toxicity when it comes to certain relationships and certain relationship types. But just being able to find your person and find that groove that works for you and get in that pocket of life.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We don't see that a lot.
So
Unfortunately.
you're, I know a lot of your beginning videos had you doing clothes. You were changing out your different outfits and whatnot, and you were dropping gems. And what made you? Because I haven't seen you do any of those in a while. But what made you transition from that to what you're doing now?
Again, I wanted to use my voice. And I think at that time, I had this fear of talking on camera.
Okay.
And the thing about fear is that if something scares you, you should probably do it, right?
Okay.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, I'm so scared of talking on camera. Cause again, like I would just condition my mind to believe that, oh, Camille, if you talk, you're gonna be so cringe. People are gonna perceive this kind of image of you. But then I just kind of went past that and said, screw it. I have a lot of wisdom, I have a lot of knowledge, and I've worked very hard to become confident and secure in myself. And I think that I should be allowed to let that part of me shine. And so once I started talking,
Not talking, but talking.
once I started talking, that's when people started to really pay attention and be like, okay, wait a minute. I really resonate with what she's saying because I'm also going through this. Oh,
Right.
wow, we have a woman here, a biracial woman with a black mom and a white dad talking about this. It's like, oh my gosh, like I feel heard, I feel seen. And mind you, I'm an only child, right? So I don't have
Oh.
any
Okay.
siblings. So in a way, subconsciously, I get to be the big sister that I wanted to be for myself to my community.
Ah. Hmm. I didn't think to look at it in that sense. That is an actual cool view how you explain that being, big sister to, and that's almost like being part of that community. You are giving, you're providing a community with yourself to other people that just may need your voice.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's see. Also, and you just mentioned biracial. With your feminist journey, do you get any slack with that?
Do I get any slack for being biracial?
Yeah, and talking on and speaking on.
What do you mean by slack? Do you mean negative
Yeah,
feedback?
yeah, negative feedback.
I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't, because having a Black mom, right? I understand fully that I do hold privilege, right? I'm light skinned, right? So I'm in closer proximity to whiteness. So I think having that Black mom allowed me to be more connected to my Blackness. And also, whenever I do talk about racism and feminism and all that stuff, right? What I like to do is I like to issue a quick PSA or acknowledgement that, look, I understand that I'm biracial and I fully understand and acknowledge that I do have privilege in terms of how I'm treated in society. So just know that I have empathy and I'm willing to hold space for you. And I'm willing to acknowledge that about myself first before I get into what I'm saying, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, it does.
But it's sad that you have to do that, though. I mean, because you should just be looked at as a person, as a whole, in any essence. But
Yeah, you know how people are.
And see, like Ron said, that's how people are, right? People will just automatically assume, well, you shouldn't be speaking on this. You're biracial. You're
Yeah,
the preference, right? Or whatever the terminology is that people use these days. But it's like I think it's just it's okay to communicate and establish that.
yeah, you can also associate that with how a woman, kind of like Tashawn, me being on the mirror room, and she's getting a bad, well, negative
backlash.
feedback
Yeah.
because it seemed like, oh, she's taking a man's side.
Mhm.
Or as a woman on Facebook that I sometimes watch, I mean a man that's on Facebook that I sometimes watch, where he's doing what Tashawn's doing,
Hmm.
but in the sense of with women, and then the men, oh man, you bro code type bull crap, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, she does it because women are automatically opinionated people. We're gonna naturally kind of find a way to speak up for ourselves, regardless. But in
Yeah.
that perspective, if a woman is on the front side saying, "Hey, look, we need to listen to these guys," I think she opens the door for you all to say, "Hey, this is a safe space to go ahead and just let out what I truly feel, regardless of whether it's a man in the forefront or a woman in the forefront." I mean, I think it should be okay for men to
Yeah,
speak up as a whole,
Hmm.
yeah.
for
Absolutely.
anybody to speak up as a whole, whether you're man, woman.
So, Miss Camille, first question:
Ugh.
You can pull out the tough stuff now.
what does feminism mean to you personally, and how has it influenced your life?
Feminism to me means to be able to advocate for women's rights to achieve that equality. And I think in terms of where that experience stemmed from, I'm just going to go back to my childhood on this because I think that's the only vision that comes to mind is my parents, right? So aside from the fact that they're an interracial couple, you think of society's gender roles, right? Like women belong in the kitchen, men have to go out and provide, right? Okay, we
Woo!
get it, whatever. But this takes me back to a time, and I think because I made notes of my answers to your question, so I feel like this answer might go into the second question you have for me in terms of the list you sent. So
Okay.
just to put that out there, but
Okay.
an experience and memory that came to my mind was when 9/11 happened, right? So the economy crashed, people were losing their jobs, and it affected us here in Canada. My father got let go from his job, and like I said, men have to be the providers. They have to go out, slaughter the pig, bring home the bacon, right? Make sure there's
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
money and food on the table, right? So
Right.
my dad, being that provider, being that man, he loses his job. Okay, so now what? What's going to happen? So I remember this vividly. When he lost his job, my mom and him sat down, and my mom was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. You, dad, are going to take care of Camille. Okay. You're going to clean the house. You're going to help her with her homework. You're going to wake her up in the morning, take her to school. I, mom, the woman, I'm going to go take my ass over to work and make sure that there's rent being paid and that there's coin coming to this house.
Okay.
And we'll basically just switch roles. And my dad was like, okay. He was like, okay, all right, you want to go get the coin? That's fine. So I remember as a child, he cooked, he cleaned, he bought a cookbook. And I remember every day when my mom came home at 5 o'clock from the long days of work, there would always be a lit meal on the table. And he made sure that happened every single day until, he was able to come up again. Right. So just kind of watching that changing of roles, I think was really eye-opening for me. And I think it was also very eye-opening for my father, because now he's like, okay, now I get to be domestic dad. Now I get to put myself in the shoes of a woman. Now I understand what women have to deal with and how they have so much pressure on them. So what can I do as a man to make sure that my girls in my household are being taken care of?
Well, kudos to dad for just saying, okay, well, I've done it my way long enough, and this didn't quite work out like I thought it would. So, hey, let's roll with it. And
Just hearing him not get bogged down in the press because
Mhm.
he's having to take that role.
Right.
I feel because myself I had to do that same thing. With me and my illness with multiple sclerosis, I had to pretty much stop working. And so I think a lot of men underestimate what it really means to have partnership with
Mm-hmm.
someone and what marriage means, where when one is down, the other possibly can be up. There's also a chance where both are down
Mm-hmm.
and you're both scrambling, but just having that ability to talk and that safe space for both, not just one, and he saw that that safe space was there, that okay, I trust that we can switch these roles and we can make something happen until it can go back to whatever. And so this makes a random question that wasn't sent to you.
Mm-hmm.
That roles, how do you feel about how society has placed the different male and female roles, and you have to live and abide by them or you won't have a great relationship pretty much? Because like
I
you
think
say,
it
you with your answer you kind of quote unquote went into the second question, so but it's just an open-ended question.
I honestly think it's setting us up for failure.
Okay.
The whole masculine feminine role. And don't get me started with these feminine coaches. I'm so sick of them.
I,
Honestly,
I,
I'm so
I
sick of
feel
them.
like it does definitely crush feminism.
Yep, absolutely. And we can talk more about that if you like, but I think it's just setting us up for failure. And, going back to the example of my parents, because look, I have to be realistic here. What if your man or your husband comes home and says, babe, I lost my job? How are we going to pay the mortgage? How are we going to pay the rent for the next month? Right? Are you just going to
Mhm.
leave him? Oh, because he's a dusty, he's broke? Like, what? There should
You-
be there should be the willingness to come together and find a solution,
Yeah.
right? The solution
yeah,
should not be, oh well, you're broke, you're dusty, I'm gonna get my ass out and go find me the next high value or rich guy, right? Like it's blasphemous to me. And maybe that's
yeah,
me being old school in a sense, but I think that's just blasphemous.
No, but
Because
that's just not how
relationship,
life works.
yeah, and like I'm sure you two can agree on this, involve effective problem solving. Like you two have to be willing to come together no matter how
Mhm.
big or messed up the issue is. You
Mhm.
two have to come together and find ways to solve it together,
yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's something that I don't think a lot of relationship or couples are doing. Go
Hmm.
to pretty much what you're saying, that oh crap, oh oh he has a hurt leg, so he can't work. So now I'm gonna leave because he's not bringing home the bag, pretty much.
Right.
Or vice versa, she can't do her womanly duties, so I gotta kick her to the curb and go find me another woman that can. So yeah, I think that's a little crap.
Yeah. Oh, they do it every day though.
No,
And then
yeah.
now you have two bitter, resentful people. Oh, you didn't hold me down when I needed you the most,
Oh
and
man,
you
tell me
didn't
about
allow
that.
me to speak up and be, you know, in my power. You didn't allow
Yeah.
me to be who I needed to be.
You give
You
me my
know.
safe space. You make me
Yep.
feel like a man.
Yeah.
You make me feel like
Or
a-
it didn't work because of you and your decisions, like and constantly pointing the blame at people. It's
yeah,
just unnecessary.
Absolutely.
yeah. The third one.
Oh, sure. So, uh, well, I think she already answered that. Well, how would she define gender equality, and what steps do you believe are
Oh,
necessary to
yeah,
achieve it?
pretty much kind of like
Do you still want me to answer it?
you
Yeah,
can. Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I think it just comes down to our willingness to heal
Okay.
and look inwards, right? So I think that first step is healing and acknowledging that there's work that needs to be done. I know that sounds like a very holistic perspective, but that's just the first thing that comes to my mind. And in terms of gender equality, I think of it as all genders, races, and people of different backgrounds, no matter their socioeconomic status, they should be
Hmm.
able to have equal rights, resources, and opportunities being presented to them. And I think this also comes from the fact of what I do for personal work. Like, I work in a career college, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of the students that enroll at our college are newcomers. They're immigrants, they're refugees, right?
Okay.
So they're from different backgrounds. They come from India, they come from Japan, they come from, Somalia, right? So
Mhm.
they're looking for opportunities and they're looking for resources. And it is on us as, I'd say, employees and just decent human beings to be the ones to provide those resources to them and making sure that they're easily accessible.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, now, the first part, crap, I lost it because then I was trying to. We do have a
Random question.
random
Well,
question.
read it
Oh
first.
my goodness. I didn't know you guys had questions. This is so cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, how do you get beyond that if you were raised in that and then it happened to you?
How did I,
Hmm.
how do you
Can
get
you
beyond that?
be
I'm
more
just,
specific about the question? How did
Yeah,
she get
JJ,
into
can you explain it a little bit
what
more?
and what is happening?
I think she was going back to the first part before we were before we went into the third question.
how do I get beyond that? Yeah, I'm trying to understand that because I don't want to go
Yeah.
in one direction.
Rephrase it with a
Rephrase
little
it a
more
little bit,
detail,
and
and
then we'll
then we'll
come
come
back
back
to.
to
Oh
it.
wait, hold on.
Okay.
How do you trust that someone will stay there when times get tough?
Like, okay.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. In reference to relationship.
Yes.
Well, that's about like the speech I'm getting ready to give. It's about communication, respect, and forgiveness. Communicate your needs and wants and desires between amongst yourselves as partners. Respect each other's space and time, and what's your opinion or what it is y'all bringing to the table, and be able to forgive each other if y'all say or do something that's you feel is unforgivable or kind of crossing the line. It's still, and then it goes back to if I can't forgive you, let's communicate ways we can figure out how to work this out in a respectful manner, and then compromise to get to a level or a place where we can say, hey, all right, this is our next step.
I love that answer. And you guys seem to have it down pat.
So have you come across a relationship where it someone made just that rash or just quick decision to break it off with you because you didn't check the boxes when it comes to the female and male aspect of roles?
As a matter of fact, yes. And oddly enough, when that happened, I was like, okay, cool. I didn't get emotional. I didn't get triggered. I was like, if that's your decision, that's fine. Oddly enough, that same person tried to come back 2 years later.
They had
And I
some
went,
time to
nope.
think, okay, maybe we can grow from this a little bit. Let's
Yeah.
try it again.
Or they just saw where I made a valid mistake and yeah, I should have maybe listened.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
she's
And,
pretty cool.
the thing with that too is that people grow and evolve, right? I think I've
Right.
done a lot of growing and I still have a long way to go, of course. But I think when in situations like that, when the person breaks it off and then they see, oh, this person did a whole U-turn and a 360. Let me see if I can creep my ass back in. It's like, well, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You
Not
can't spin
without
the block.
expecting that the other person has made some changes and healing and decided that, I don't think we can push past it, or we could push past it, but I'm definitely just in a different space now.
Thank
Right.
you.
And also, if you weren't there for me at my lowest and at my worst, why do you deserve me at my best?
Right. What
Mm.
song is that that you listen to and they talk about that?
Mm. It's a lot
What's it?
of them.
Sing me at my dang.
It might be one of my affirmation songs.
No, when we
No,
first met, it was a song. She's a female artist, and she talking
is
about seeing me at my lowest, or seeing me naked, or seeing me.
oh, it might be Kilani. Kilani naked.
I think that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Cause yeah.
I need somebody who loves me naked.
Yes,
Someone
yes,
who
yes, yes. That
never
song.
looks for love but knows how to take it.
Yes, yeah, that song.
Okay.
Now I can remember what I was going to ask. The healing part.
Mm-hmm.
Why, especially in our community, why do you think it is hard for us, and maybe not just male and female, but in a female aspect? Why is it so hard for us to heal from devastated relationships that men have put you guys in? If you can access it, even if it's just in your aspect or your possible assumption.
The first word that comes to mind is living in a scarcity mindset.
Okay.
Or do you think that, like, oh, I'll never get better, or I'll never get what I truly deserve and desire, and then you sit in that scarcity, right? And then the thing about scarcity is that it links to stagnancy. Nothing moves, nothing flows from scarcity, and I think that could be a factor, especially in the community.
Mhm.
I don't know if you and Lisa want to provide more emphasis on that, or maybe what your views are on that as well.
So you're
Run the question back.
I was like, really? You put me on the spot like that? I can't remember what
Oh, sorry.
I asked. No, the healing aspect of coming out of a bad relationship.
Mhm.
Why is it so hard for especially in the Black community,
Mhm.
a female to heal? Because we here recently we're
Mm.
counseling and talking or coaching
Mm.
because we're not experts.
Mm.
But we're coaching a couple of people, and so far it's just been females. But
It's, I would say, because this situation for me is current,
you know,
dealing with me being married for over 10 years and then with the same person for 10 years and then leaving them. And they have created this story in their mind of how I left them. And it's definitely not the same as my story, nor what the conglomerative truth is. So healing from that is a constant process for me. Um, because I feel like I put on my all in and I try my best to get out of the situation unscathed, as unscathed as possible. But a lot of extra wounds were opened up and things were created and covered over into scars. And I have healed from them, and I do constantly kind of work on trying to heal from them on a daily basis because they reopen those wounds every time
I was just about to
I
ask
have to
that.
interact with this person, and how I have to decide from a female perspective or from a woman's perspective. Do I completely cut this person off just for the sake of myself? Or do I
Mm-hmm.
just completely cut this person off for the sake of my children? Or do I hold on to them for the sake of the children? Or do I just say, bump it and do what's best for me at the end of the day, regardless of what anybody else feels? So I feel like the healing part for me is it never stops. It's an ongoing process, and it's one sided. So I can't speak for the other side, and I can't provide a solution on how to fix it because, again, it's something I have to wake up and look at on a regular basis.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Well, yeah, you kind of extended it too, because I was gonna ask, do you think that you go through it still, regardless of
Yep, so
is
do.
is it a constant thing?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Evelyn stated, "Do you think that it's hard for?" Well, she asked, "Do you think that it's hard for women to begin that healing journey after broken trust because she lost more, having invested more than many men?"
I would say based on the response that I just gave, yes. I feel like I invested a lot. I feel like I was the one putting in more effort to, regain trust or come up with a compromise or stay in it for, positive reasons of saying, hey, look, we need to do more. But at the end of the day, investing more, what am I investing so precious that other than my time that I can't get back?
Right.
So it's up to me. Do I want to continue to invest time into something that I see is constantly like spinning in the same direction and not really ironing out and going in a new direction, or going towards something that's actually helping me? Or do I want to keep running that cycle of negativity over and over again? So
Because if you
that's
run
how I
your
changed my perspective on the healing of it.
What you
yeah,
say?
and also just to add on to Lisa's point, the more you run yourself into that cycle of negativity, the harder it's going to be for you to get out of it, right? Like that just puts you in a deeper, much larger hole, and the only person that can get out of that is you.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with your journey now, have you have you come across a relationship where you had to heal from since you've been in this feminist journey?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's from I think it's from not speaking up and not communicating my boundaries. Because I think with boundaries, right, we have this idea of what boundaries are,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another thing in terms of how to approach and communicate it. And again, this stems back to my fear of not being seen and also being an only child and not being, um, how do I say it, poured into emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because just a quick sidetrack, I think with if you're one of your parents is an immigrant, they tend to show their love for you in a different way than from what you wanted to receive it in.
Oh Lord, you
I
just put
wanted
me
to
like.
be loved emotionally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get that from my mother. And I love her, Lisa Laron. Don't get me wrong, I love her. But again, like she's an immigrant,
Okay.
right? So she wasn't able to provide that. Her love language was through like acts of service. And she does
Mm-hmm.
that to this day, right? But with some therapy, I was able to just kind of sit down with her and be like, look, this is how I want to be cared for and loved and poured into. Now,
Mm-hmm.
my dad's the emotional one because he's very empathetic, he's very compassionate, he's also tough, right? He's
Okay.
gangster like that, but um, but on an emotional level, I connect and relate to him more, right? Because he's able to create that space for me.
Okay. So it's like your mom is more so on the I have to do it kind of this kind of necessary, and she doesn't know she's doing it because it's necessary. So she
Yeah,
naturally has up a wall of defense that I can't let myself be myself
yeah.
enough to do what I just want to do. She just kind of moving out of necessity. I think as women, we get into a relationship and we just do that because we kind of feel like, okay, I'm in this. I got these roles to fulfill, which there we go again. And I don't have the time to say, let me relax and just be a woman.
You doing that? You feel like you? Do I
Why are
put
you
you in?
gonna ask me personal questions like that? I don't know why.
do I?
Like
Do I
we
put you in that
in
situation like?
general,
Yeah.
Here
no.
y'all go.
I know, right? But just saying, I don't know. I guess that would be where the feminine power would be silent because we do just get into a relationship and fall into the roles. And all right, in order for this relationship to work, I got to do this, 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 and this. And we're so bent on doing this that we realize we don't take the time out to give the love that we need to give to our children, or we
Mhm.
don't take the time out to give the love we need to give to ourselves, or give the love we need to give to our partners,
Right.
respectively. And there's enough to spread it out and put it around, but we're so busy on I gotta keep the house clean this way, I gotta do this way, I gotta look this way when I go outside, I gotta make sure I'm happy when I go outside, I gotta make sure I smile. When somebody asks me
Mhm.
how my relationship is going, I gotta say, oh, it's great, I'm happy, everything's good. Even though we just had an argument about the same thing 3 days in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And also, Lisa, too, let's bring up another point. I think you can also relate on this too. it's not even just as women, but as Black women,
Hmm.
that's an even heavier load to carry, right? So
Right.
for me, just going back to the boundaries part, I was so afraid to just say, "Hey, I don't want to do this," or I'm not about that, right?
Hmm.
And so I had to learn that not only in therapy, but then after I did the therapy and after my therapist called me out for having lack of boundaries,
Uh-oh.
the universe was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, okay, so you learned this in therapy. So I'm going to put you in real life situations. I'm going to
Hmm.
throw curveballs at you
Hmm.
and see if you learn something."
Right.
Mm.
Right? And so I
Right.
started to apply
Yeah.
that into some of my relationships where I said, "You know what? I don't like the way you're speaking to me. I don't
Oof.
like how you're treating me."
Hmm.
And I find with men, and Laron, you can add on to this if you want. I don't say I feel hurt or I feel offended. I say what you said was offensive. What you said was hurtful. What you said was disrespectful. Because if you think about it, men are conditioned not to feel anything, right? So I
Right.
think you
Hmm.
kind of have to like talk their language kind of logically and say
Hmm.
what you said
Mm.
was hurtful instead of, oh, I feel hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Yes, and I can agree with that. I can recall in arguments with my ex, it was more of on the defensive instead of saying, "Hey, look, I'm not being angry because I want to be angry, but
Mhm.
what you said made me feel very angry, and I
Yes,
don't want to be angry.
right.
I want to fix it, but you're pissing me off right now." And I can honestly say that now it's a little bit easier for me to kind of sit back and say, I wasn't feeling the conversation we had earlier. It just really made me feel uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Sometimes you still can have a low key response of possible
And I do at
defensiveness.
first,
Defensiveness.
and at
But
first,
no,
and then
no,
I
that's
go back and
understandable
I
though.
come back and I be like, you know what? I could have
Yeah,
really came off with my response to you a lot better earlier.
but you know what? It goes back to the listening part and everybody picking on me by being the only oddball out saying women are not complicated. So I also have to understand where you came from
Hmm.
to see that okay, so she's responding off of familiarity,
Hmm.
so I can't get too bent out of shape
Hmm.
unless I realize that you're deliberately just doing it. Then that's when we have a problem. But
But you're
even
pretty
though
cool about it at first.
because
He'll definitely be like, okay, I don't like the way you said that.
Mm.
yeah,
Are you mad at me? Are you mad at the situation? Or
because
do
I
we
gotta
need
find
to
out
fix
first.
something?
Because then I don't want to sit and put my foot in my mouth if I'm like, and then you be like, well, I ain't mean it. So again, I
Thank you for paying attention. I appreciate that.
but it, we make it complicated.
Yeah.
And I can chime in because, on the other hand, Camille, my mom was the emotional, and my dad was and still is the brick wall up, no showing, no emotion. I see some things in me of my dad, but I am mostly my mom, and so weirdly to say, I can understand y'all more than I can understand these falsified alpha males running around here with their privacies in their hand, talking about they this and that.
Oh.
Um, because I didn't have boundaries. Um, I'm the emotional male, and so not only that, on top of that, I'm an empath, so that's even worse. Um, it's just I don't know. I could see and feel and understand that how tough, because my mom had it tough.
Mhm.
How females and how women in general are being traumatized by men, and we act like we don't recognize that we have daughters, and it starts there more than anything. And not only does it start with our daughters, it starts with their mom, because before we get daughters, their moms first. you know, and if we're treating, and I guess that's how I am with her kids, and I try to explain to her, I treat your mom the way that I treat her is because y'all are two girls that are going to grow up to be women, and I don't know how your dad is treating other women, but in this house, I want you to be comfortable enough to when you get old enough, you can recognize what love is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
And he does that from a male perspective, and I've been working on doing that from the female perspective of making sure they know how to put that self love first.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I make sure that I teach them not to do the things that mommy did. Don't make the mistakes mommy made, and not take time to love yourself before you go jumping into a relationship and trying to love somebody else.
we have a question for Camille.
So yes, I
Ooh.
think the question on the screen, as well as question number 5,
Kind of coincide
kind
with
of
this.
coincide with each other. So
Dr.
you can
Whitney,
read,
stop
you
looking at
can
my
kind of
email.
read the
You're looking at
question
my
on
email.
there, and then I think you've already gotten a response to question number 5. So you can kind of segue it together, or take as much time as you need to kind of get yourself through it.
Do you see the question?
Yes, I can see it. Stigmas towards mental health. I'm trying to think. Stigmas towards mental health as a biracial person. I think again, it just stems from watching my mom do everything. And I'm not talking in the sense of her relationship. I'm talking in the sense of like outside of her relationship with my father,
Mhm.
particularly in the workplace, right? Where she had to carry so much, and also her being the eldest sibling
Mhm.
in her family, right? So just watching her carry that burden. And sometimes I just want to tell her, like, Mom, stop. Like, you're carrying too much. You're doing
Mhm.
way too much. Lighten the load, let it go. Dad's here. He can help you. You have
Right.
people that are here for you. You can always lean on me. But I think watching her be so quote unquote strong, it kind of rubbed off on me in a bit, where it's like now I have to feel I have to be the strong woman myself,
Mhm.
right? Be that people pleaser, be that one that has to carry the load, right? Laron, you said you're an empath. And I think as people who are empathetic, people tend to dump their
Yeah.
traumas, their problems, and their pain onto you. And
Yeah.
you want to be the one to just be not so much the hero, but to be that safe space, but not to the point where you're putting your mental health, your
Yeah.
feelings, and your needs on the back burner. And I was doing that a lot,
Mhm.
Yeah.
a lot. So just trying to navigate that. And again, understanding boundaries and learning how to communicate them without being like, oh, well, I feel bad. No, I don't feel bad. I have to put myself first.
Right. So that's a honestly a feminine power that your mom has not had the pleasure or ability of saying, I'm gonna take some time for me and do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can hold on for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So I guess I can add to that and maybe kind of dissect that a little bit more. With your mom background, mental health, is that even an option when it comes to the struggle that she goes through or any?
In her days, like mental health wasn't even a thing. It
Okay.
wasn't. She just had to power through it.
Okay. Um, so what about yourself? It would when no, you did say you have a counselor or you went through counseling and so you had to end up um I kind of figured that's what you meant, Dr. Whitney, that trying to explain that if your mom's side where that mental health was available and is would
Mm-hmm.
that be something that you would consider doing? Because my dad to this day I got it by myself and you 73 years old and it still ain't changed.
See, and then like as you get older, it's like it just becomes a part of your conditioning where you become resistant to that change, or you
Right.
become resistant to opening up that perspective. I'm basically the black sheep in my family, okay? Like I'm the only child. I don't have any other siblings. I have to learn things on my own and just accumulate the wisdom that I have, not just from the mistakes that I've made, but also just from observing other people. Because I really think that smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people learn from the mistakes of others.
Right.
So I was always that observant person,
Okay.
you know?
Okay. Also, I can say that it's a conversation I just had with my mom here recently about my dad, whereas in um, explaining, hey, kind of like what you were stating, I don't appreciate the way that you're speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at some point, you guys as women, with a lot of men that are stuck in that ideology of I'm the head, you do as I say, you should be able to still have that voice of, hey, you might have that position or whatnot, but just hear me out. I don't feel comfortable with being treated in this sense.
Yep.
So, um, six, what role do you think men can play in the feminist movement, and how can they be allies in promoting gender equality?
Oh, she ready for that question.
Okay, so the first one would be to stop buying microphones and stop blaming everything on women. It's not that woman's fault that she rejected you. Your approach
Mm,
was terrible. You were just being an asshole and you were being disrespectful. So why should she submit to your disrespect? Tell me, please, sir, with the microphone.
Because they're high power, no, I'm sorry, not high power, high value men.
mm,
They come to the table already prepared,
mm.
and you should take them regardless.
What the table
Even
that
if he broke,
the table that y'all built?
no, even if he broke, you should still want me because I look good.
The table that y'all built. A lot of them coming to tables that y'all don't build, asking what you bringing to the table.
But can they even build though? Like build
Nope.
something with their hands? Like that
Carpentry
No.
that
is like
impresses
one of
me.
the least 10 jobs that men pick.
I would say half of the men that preach what you bring to the table do not have any form of capacity of putting something together. At some point, bless my dad's soul, he's not dead or anything, but his mechanical, being able to be a mechanic
I don't
is
think your dad ever had mechanics for
no for
putting
real.
anything together. Oh, he did?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's the thing. That's
Oh,
what we. So at some point, if you haven't gone to school,
you
see,
don't use it,
see,
you
my
lose it.
dad could fix on those cars where if you open the hood, you can literally see the engine.
Oh,
Nowadays these cars, you dang near have to take the whole car loose. Just
or just click something on the computer. And,
yeah, and see, that's not the era he comes from,
Mm-mm.
and so he didn't go to school for that, and so he's that. Just because I know how to fix a 1987 hoopty, I can fix a 2023 Lexus.
that is not the
That's not the
same.
same. It's not the
Like
same.
if you're gonna ask a woman what she brings to the table, I hope that you have a toolkit.
Mm.
And I hope that you know how to use those
I was
tools to
gonna say,
actually build something.
yeah, my dad got several. He still
But they
don't
don't have
have
any tools. They talk about, it's one thing to talk about building,
Ah,
but it's another thing to actually build something with your
I
hands
couldn't say
that is
just because they got a
toolkit.
toolkit
No,
don't
yeah,
mean
that's
don't
what
know how to
they don't know how
use
to
it.
use it. Yep, they don't know how to use it. They the only
they
thing they can use is
can.
a hammer to break
Not even a
something.
hammer or a screwdriver. I know how to use a screwdriver and a hammer. My dad taught me, right?
Oh,
But
Good.
then just to answer your question, so yeah, so stop buying microphones, stop listening to men with podcasts. Um, Also, I thought of not don't invalidate women's experiences. Just because her experiences are different from yours doesn't make them invalid. Like you
right,
should be able to listen and maybe gain a better understanding of those said women,
right.
right? Also read a bell hooks book.
Mm,
There's a particular one actually that I read a couple years ago by bell hooks. It's called The Will to Change
Mhm.
on Men and Masculinity. So it talks about how men tapping into their emotions is fundamentally beneficial for them. And it'll also help deprogram themselves from basically the patriarchy. Because if you think about it, patriarchy not only affects women, it also affects men, right?
right.
So it looks at how men can show love to themselves, how men can speak life into themselves and speak life and love into other men. And then there's also another book called Way of the Superior Man by, what's that guy's name? David Dida. So it basically takes a look at the heart of men and just kind of like peel away at the layers of what their true desires are. And
Uh-huh.
also, it talks about how men need to also tap into their most darkest secrets. So, in a way, kind of do like the shadow work. So, those are two resources I recommend for men in terms of how they can become allies.
Now, I
Because
like the fact that you just stated shadow work. Do you have your shadow work book?
I do have one.
What is that and whatnot? My daughter spoke on it, but she doesn't have the book per se, but she said she's doing the work. So, what is that?
Ooh. So,
Mm.
basically, shadow work is where you uncover your most darkest, most deepest secrets that you don't
Mm,
show other people, that you're kind of ashamed of.
okay.
Yeah, it's like your most intense, I'd say your most
So, is it
intense.
asking you questions, the book itself, or is it giving you asking you to describe or tell that?
Oh, you
Okay.
speaking specifically to the book. Oh,
Yes.
there is a book on TikTok going around, but shadow work is something that people have been doing for a very long time. It's just pretty much just making sure you do that inner work and looking into yourself and saying, "Hey, look, I don't want the world to know what's going on with me, but I need to find a way to cope with it, fix it, find a solution. Even if you don't do nothing, write it down and burn it."
I wouldn't even have that. I wouldn't have a problem with that with my dad doing that. But just to hear him say, "I got it," but then you don't see any evidence of that work
Mhm,
being put in, which I know to a certain degree sometimes you won't see what people are doing. But
mhm.
I feel if you're getting words and you're treating people words, I think that's evident enough showing that you're not really doing says work of trying to heal. I don't know. I might be wrong.
Not necessarily. I mean, um, even no response can be a response as well. You know.
Yep.
Even if you are giving off negative energy, negative vibe, negative response, if you finally realize that at some point, "Dang, I was real mean today," or somebody say, every time I say something to you, you come off with this negative vibe, that gives you a chance to do some shadow work and say, okay, I might want to fix that.
Mhm.
Right.
It's something that's bothering me that makes me feel like I got to be negative or on the defense.
Hmm.
Yeah, and also it talks a lot about what triggers you, right? And so whatever is triggering you in that moment, that's trying to teach you something. So why
Okay.
not go deep and understand where that trigger is stemming from? Because it's everything's all interconnected in terms of our triggers.
Okay. So I guess to open up to broaden that trauma with a person, do you personally feel, and let's say with you, and now if you know that you're suffering from a deep dark trauma, maybe you don't want to tell a possible friend or even with your counselor that you're talking to, but do you think at some point that's something that you may need to visit instead of just saying, I'm just going to move past it?
Absolutely. I will always make a visit. I don't care if I got to stay a few nights just to learn it. I will definitely make the visit. Like I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to go within. And I think that's why people always call me intimidating. And it's like I'm not though. I just like to go deep. I don't do
Right,
surface level stuff, right?
right.
I'm not perfect.
There's nothing wrong with
Perfection is
talking about it.
Yeah.
Perfection's overrated. Why would you want to be perfect? Again, I think perfection is like linked to scarcity. It's like it's almost like you're afraid of yourself almost if you're perfect.
If you're trying to be perfect, right. Okay. So, how do you respond to criticism or misconceptions surrounding feminism? And what strategies do you use to engage in um, productive conversations about it?
I learned to just keep my emotions outside.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, I listen. Even if I don't agree with what you're saying to me, I'm willing to hear you out. As long as you're willing to hear me out and we can have what's the word? A mature conversation about it, right?
Right.
But yeah, listening and just leaving my emotions out of it. Being able to just kind of, what's the word? Compartmentalize and not get my feelings involved.
Okay. And Dr. Whitney, you're correct. Actually, and well, in your book with titles, um, Dr. Whitney, it's you when
She
me and
gonna
you
get
talk
you for
to
keep calling her doctor.
that's my Dr. Whitney. So it is what it is. She just gonna go ahead and get the title, even though we talk about having titles can be crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because again, she hasn't, as the world would say, graduated from any form of doc. Hold on, Dr. Whitney. That's a question I haven't asked. I'm sorry, Miss Camille. I
You
don't
saying
finna say she hadn't
she's
graduated.
mastered the art of
Yeah,
communication
she's
without
mastered. So
mastering it at school.
she's a doctor in communication. So she's my doctor. See, she's smiling. See, she know what I mean. But I do think, also, in her book, she talks about titles and how we always, and I don't like titles neither. I think, I do think, not taking anything away from feminism or feminine, masculine, or anything like that. But I do feel, especially when it comes to men, when we focus on those forms of titles, we are looking at the focus in a control aspect versus equality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, me telling you that my masculine roles are more important than feminine roles.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel, men, when it comes to these titles and having to have. You have to describe it to. You have to put a word to what you are doing. Why? You know,
Mm-hmm.
why can't I just be great?
And also on top of that, I made a video on TikTok about this recently. Men and women have both masculine and feminine in them.
Yes.
So why are y'all choosing one thing over the other? Like, I get it. Women
Mm.
are naturally feminine. We're nurturing, we're
Mm-mm.
compassionate, we
Mm-mm.
love to receive, we love to give love, right?
No.
We also have some masculine parts of ourselves too. Like, for example, like let's say in the workplace, if we're not being paid equally, if we're not being
Right.
treated fairly, we have
Right.
to kind of get assertive,
Yes.
Right.
right? We have to stand our ground. We have to take charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, quick example I'll give you here with my mother. She worked her way up in the insurance department to the
Okay.
point where she became the director of strategic planning.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That's a
Yeah,
big title.
huge title. So she's in a director's role. So people have to come report to her, right? So you got this 6'1" black woman, right? Her
Oh
power
wow, she's
suit,
off.
walking around the office. She's driving an Audi. Okay, I got another story about that too, because when she told me this shit, I couldn't believe it. But the people that had to report to her were white people. So
Okay.
look at the power
Oh.
dynamic there. Do you think
Wow.
that she got respected and treated well, even in her high director position?
Nope.
No.
Of course not. I would hear about it every day when she would come home from work.
They sound all the more intimidated, and all she really wants to do is just do her job.
Exactly. And then
She
one
just wants
day,
to help them.
I'll tell you another story. So her and my dad, right? They're both very successful in their careers at this point. My dad works in oil and gas. My mom's a director. They're like, you know what? We need a new car. So they go car shopping. And then one day I come home from school and there's a black Audi A6 on my parents' driveway. And I'm like, oh, is this like a rental? Like, y'all want to tell me something? Like, what is this? And dad's like, oh, this is your mom and I's car, but mom's gonna use it for work. And I was like, okay, mom, she's stunned. She had like the push to start button, like this
Okay.
interior was tan, like
All
heated
right.
seats. Like, oh, it was
Like
so nice.
total false move.
So smooth, right? And then so one day she drove the Audi to work And she was in a meeting. And I guess they were in like the top level, right? So you could see out in the parking lot.
Uh-huh.
So she's in the meeting waiting for it to start. And one of her male coworkers is looking out the window and he's like, "Hey, whose Audi A6 is that in the parking lot? That's very nice." Ooh. And then everyone's like looking out the window like, "Oh, that's a nice car. Who does that belong to?" You know, they start gossiping and whatnot. And my mom is like she's very humble. She's not flashy.
Gotcha.
She doesn't like to be like, "Look at me." Like she's just very much like low key. So it got uncomfortable to the point where she had to say, "Okay, look, you guys, it's mine. Can we start the meeting now, please?" And everyone in the office is like, "You?
Dang.
That's your Audi?" Like it's
Wow.
almost like their internalized racism and misogyny was like it was speaking, but it wasn't saying anything. Like just the room went silent. And after the meeting, one of her male coworkers went into her boss's office and said, "I want a raise. Whatever
Oh
she's making,
crap.
I want to make that money."
Wow. So she couldn't make that. Well, not even knowing what she's making.
I'm gonna say there are some lucky you know whats, because at this point she has every right to tell them, roll over, kiss my black you know what,
Period. Period.
Wow.
and sit down and listen to what I have to say. Because what car I drive does not matter. And just because I'm in a nice car does not matter, because I work, I earn my position, and if I wanted to go buy a blue Lamborghini, let me drive a blue Lamborghini, because that's what I want to do.
But Dad could have bought the car too, though.
But now, no, I'm going to tell you now, that was a slap in the face for her, because if her husband would have pulled up in that car at his job, they would not have given him that same response.
No.
Wait,
True.
Lisa, can I tell you another example of that? Because I like how you dove into that. So that was my mom's experience, right? Black woman, okay, that's her experience. My dad, his company car stopped working, and he was with his male coworker in the car. So he was like, "You know what? Let's just take a taxi back to my house and we'll get my car," which was the Audi. Okay. So his coworker standing on the driveway waiting for my dad to back out of the garage. My dad gets into the Audi, backs out of it. My dad's male coworker sees the Audi and he's like, "Oh shit, that's a nice car. Is that an A6? Did you buy that?" So you kind of see like the dynamic where it's like, if my mother was backing out and that man saw it, he'd be like, "Oh, is that your husband's car? Oh, did your husband buy that for you?" No, her and my dad bought that together with their own money.
And I guess that's why I was saying that the fact that I guess it was kind of still going into what you guys were stating, because I do feel like that's a bunch of crap that even if your dad had bought it for her, it was still going to be a problem because it's her car.
Right.
And people not knowing allegedly what you're making and her being in that hot
I'm
position,
going
they
to
were going to still do
guarantee
that
you,
regardless.
and I can speak from personal experience, if she would have walked on that car lot and saw that car and said, "I want that one," they wouldn't have sold it to her. If Camille or I would have walked onto a car lot by ourselves and said, "I want that one," we got the money, cash down payment, regardless of what we had on, they would have talked outside of that. "Oh, that's a man's vehicle. That's too rich for you. You don't."
Yeah. Oh, you can't afford the maintenance on it. But oddly enough, Lisa, my dad went with her to the Audi dealership and he did most of the talking because he knew the sales guy's gonna try and upsell my mom. And say, "Oh no, you can't afford that. No, you got a white guy here who's her husband is like, well, we want the black A6 with the rims on it. So
and that's sad though.
And it should have, but it's sad because she should have been able to be comfortable enough for her husband to say, "Hey, babe, here's the money. Go pick out whatever car you want on the lot."
Right.
Or if they've already looked at it and said, "Hey, well, they have this one stock here. You go. You got the money. You go pick it out. You do the paperwork. And if you need me for anything on the back end, I got you."
Okay. So this is a relationship show. What impact does that do to a relationship with partners and stuff? You as Did that make your mom feel small at all, or her going in with him and having him speak up in that sense?
I don't think it made her feel small. She just wanted to get a nice car. It's like now I'm making the money that I'm making. I'm in this great position. Like I think I deserve to kind of spoil myself. And
Right.
also my husband's in a great position too. So this is going to be for the both of us. I don't think she felt small. She felt small and attacked when her white coworkers were trying to put
Gotcha.
her on the spot saying, "Oh, whose car is that?" Right?
Okay.
And then her male coworkers like, well, whatever she's getting in a salary, I want you to double that, or I want as much as what she's making, because how dare this black woman have this nice car and be in this position? How dare she?
So, and it's still, I guess now it's funny now that you're saying this about your mom.
And
And
then
again,
not only that, she's black, she's tall.
yeah,
That's that's extra intimidation.
and obviously she's smart.
Yep.
You know, grew up in
And
that sense.
Lisa, you would love my mom. I'll tell you
I,
that right now. You would love her.
I guess to hear you talk about the not the boundary, but the wall and where she comes from and whatnot. I still now I'm going back to the video and seeing how much fun that they were having in the video. So they do is do she seem to be in what people consider her, what is it, being her
You can say it.
I'm trying to say what
He
is it.
can't pronounce words well, so he
Yeah,
got to make sure he
me
say
and
it
my word
correctly.
pronunciation is not great.
Just say
Um,
it and I'll help you.
her being in her feminine. Now, is she able to tap into that around him?
Probably now more than she has before.
Oh, Iran, yes. He brings out the absolute best in her. She's always
Okay.
giddy.
Okay.
Like you saw in the video. My dad's very
He
he's very
probably.
extroverted. He's
How did
very
he
like
respond to her situation with the work with the car thing when she told him?
he's like, fuck those people.
Okay.
He said you should have been loud about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that. That's pretty cute and shit. She probably was like,
That's
I
cool.
don't know what you're talking about. I don't have to do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she found a person. So, and that's how long have they been married?
Ooh, over 30 years.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So, oh well, practically, most likely that's pretty much all your life as well,
My
because you're the
whole
only
life.
child.
Like my mother was 24 when I was born. So
Okay.
they go way
Okay.
back. They were youngins when they had me.
Ah,
Indeed.
all right. So, can you discuss any specific initiatives or projects you are involved in that aim to empower women and promote gender equality?
Oh, I love that question. So yes, actually. So um I'm also a content creator, right? So I've done a lot of collaborations in my community with Black owned businesses that are owned
Okay.
by women. I recently did a collab actually with one of my friends who is an Indigenous woman. She
Okay.
opened up her own brow studio. So she does like eyebrow shaping and she does like the tattooing of it. And so I think just being active in the community and just working with BIPOC women in the community is something that gives me great joy, and it allows me to learn from those women, right? Like what trials and tribulations did they have to undergo to get to the point that they're at in terms of their success? And I'm very captivated by those stories, and it brings me it brings me a lot of joy being able to collaborate with those people, because it just keeps us interconnected as a community and we're able to support each other authentically and organically. So lots of collabs. I did one actually with a non-for-profit organization called Black Entrepreneurs Business in Canada. So
Uh-huh.
basically, they're out in Vancouver, BC, Canada. And if you are a Black entrepreneur looking for funding to jumpstart your business, they'll actually help you with that. Like they'll give you funding for getting your business off the ground. So they wanted someone to kind of be the spokesperson for that, and I'm like, yes, I'll do it.
So
Good deal.
is that in that specific area or just in general
I'd say just
with
in general, and then also
with funding?
my mother's an entrepreneur as well, right? So just being connected with her and learning from her in terms of her
Okay.
business, right?
Awesome.
Ooh, and last but not least,
Oh,
No, it's two.
Oh, it's two more. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, good gosh.
What
Huh?
advice would you give to young girls and women who want to become more engaged in the feminist movement? How can I help you?
okay. Uplift, support, and show love to other women.
Hmm.
Don't be intimidated by them. If anything, these women are going through the same thing that you've gone through. Y'all just don't
Mhm.
even know it yet. The same trials and tribulations that you've undergone as a woman, she's probably gone through it too. So why are you hating on her? Oh, because she's more successful than you? You should be inspired by that. So cultivate your relationships with women and don't center yourselves around the male gaze, okay? Don't do that. There's more value, there's more community, there's more support when you are around other women. And I think since learning more about my femininity and becoming more in tune with myself, it's allowed me to foster and maintain those relationships with women. And I get more love from women than I do from the dudes. I'm just saying, okay?
Mhm.
And I love it.
Okay. Oh, and what I like how you delivered that answer because a lot of people that I see, not to call anybody out, there's this particular woman that's kind of famous on Instagram, but
Oh,
don't be sipping your tea. I think you know what I'm talking about. And she points femininity and I'm not knocking her deliverance of you know quote unquote teaching and having women go on a journey to get their femininity, but I personally feel that is male driven,
mm, yep. You're right.
and I get it, but at some point, even with a man masculinity, I shouldn't associate me being masculine off of how I could, and I feel it is like a control aspect when it comes to majority of men when they feel that head of household role. That's my masculinity. My you have to sh- show me that I am head in a sense,
Mhm.
regardless of if I'm not leading the way that you think I should lead.
Mm.
You still should put me in my masculine role because
Mhm.
that's what I think a lot of men feel
Do I not put
femininely.
you in your masculine role? I don't know. I'm based on our relationship. I can't because I can't speak for anybody else. I I don't know. I guess I operate well in my feminine power. I mean,
Are you trying to say are you masculine?
I'm. You did try to put me on the spot earlier. I do carry more masculinity in my personality than I do feminine energy in my personality, but I don't focus on that. In my relationship, he's the man, I am the woman. I do enjoy being in a feminine place of having someone cater to me. I don't have to get up all the time. I don't have to go do this all the time. I don't have to always wash the dishes. I don't always have to always make a decision. It's okay for him to make those decisions. Now, he does make certain that we make decisions together versus him just going and hauling off and doing like big major stuff without me. He definitely goes, hey babe, what do we need to do about whatever, whatever, da 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 da. Even though I do naturally take lead and say, hey, I would like for things to go this, and this way. And most of the time, if he trusts my intuition when he's been with me long enough, I think and hope he would, that he normally goes, okay, babe, that works pretty good. I was going to do the same thing you were thinking about doing. Let's roll with it. And it ain't so much of, oh, you trying to be the man of the house and put the pants on. I'm the man. I make the decision. I am
It
absolutely
don't have to be that
floored that
complicated.
great that he doesn't do that because that annoys me to the utmost. And then on top of that, 95% of men, and I speaking again from experience, my ex is always this, I'm the man of the house. What I say goes. I make the decision first. That's absolutely unnecessary. You don't have to do that. And it's okay to allow me to have my voice and say, hey, well, babe, I think this will be what works best. Can we do this way? Or can I bring in another woman of good stature and she's got a good plan in place and we make this work for us? I don't feel that that's spoken on a lot. And I'm working
Oh,
on
Oh,
doing, oh wow.
my bad.
Sorry, that's what happened when you have Wi-Fi lights.
My bad. Uh,
I don't feel like we group up together enough to make sure we operate in the
you said we
feminine.
don't feel like we do. Oh, women
Women
don't. Oh, okay.
don't operate well enough to work together in that feminine group. So I commend you on making sure that you find places where you can insert yourself and make sure you encourage other women and get that encouragement from other women and put yourself in a space to say, hey, I can help you, you can help me, we can do this together, or we can find a way that someone can encourage you in some way or another.
absolutely. You said it so well.
I'm learning by experience that as much as I want to believe that men are good leaders,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we don't do everything right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, you can take that back to Adam and Eve, right? I mean, Adam was doing it by himself, but God said, my boy needs some help. Let me just put that right there for you.
and so I guess for me, you know, I also have to look at and thank you again for the, the beginning of our relationship. Even though you were somewhat against, us sitting down and doing
No, no,
some
no, no, no,
I,
no.
I ain't gonna
We're
say
gonna we're
against.
gonna we're
I ain't
gonna
gonna say
take it.
against.
We're gonna reword that. Yes,
I ain't gonna say
I was
against.
walking in my femininity, and I was sure that I am not ready to just jump into a relationship. I want to take my time and get this thing
But no,
right.
that's what I'm saying. So with the books, but even though I was like, hey, because I was doing a lot of books. Because for me, I was on that journey of marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and you like slow your roll, bro.
Yeah,
So,
I had my feet planted firm.
yeah,
And I'm a woman. I'm gonna take my time. I want to heal myself and get there first.
but I like,
I loved you, and I did tell you, of your consistency.
yeah,
Just keep it like that,
yeah,
and we can work with some things. And it did get you in a good place where you are beside me.
yeah. But I like, so my thing was the books also showed the difference with us,
Mm-hmm.
and that showed me that hey, um, I have a true partner in the sense of I can learn something
Mm-hmm.
from you. I don't need to get in that ideal of where, like with my dad, again, like my mom tried to give my dad several great ideas of, hey, and wasn't in the sense of making him feel small. My dad
Mm-hmm.
made himself feel small by how he responded
Mm-hmm.
to someone that cared about him say, hey, have you ever thought by trying this that may work out that way? I got it. I got it. And then
Mm-hmm.
tried his way and failed.
Mm-hmm.
And then almost come back and almost be like, oh, it was your fault because it didn't work out. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So with you, I'm comfortable to sit and say, hey, I don't have it. Do you have an idea that can possibly help? And I don't think if a man does that, that doesn't take any masculine nothing from him because and Camille, you stated that women come from they're natural born nurturer, but I don't know if I post this yet, but a quote came up to where men are the same way because how do you think that we consider ourselves raising our boys to be men? It's still a form of nurturing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So we all again like you stated in your post both of us we have that femininity and that masculinity. It's just us tapping into that role society has placed on a man's shoulder that if he even thinks about showing any form of femininity something's wrong with them. Or if a woman shows any form of masculinity, she's trying to take the role of a man, and that's not right. And but how many times have we placed y'all in a position to where you had to do roles in a sense of showing a masculinity power because of, and I'm just speaking in the front of the black community,
Mm-hmm.
how we pump you up
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
with such fluids and have you all fat and rounded in the belly section.
You
And
can
then
just say how we impregnate you and
and
then leave
then
you to
leave you.
handle the
Yeah,
situation
and then
on
you
your
have the
own.
situation. So you end up being that male and female figure. And it's not something that I think we're cutting back on. My opinion is it's getting worse,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
I'm
So,
sorry.
oh
My
no,
bad.
you're
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, and the feminine and
Feminine,
masculine
masculine energies
energy
are
are definitely the new gender role
oh yeah.
language.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I do think it is fostered by men, which is why we are here having this conversation about
Yeah.
it's okay to walk in femininity. It's okay to be your own woman. It's okay to be empowered by other women and
What Dr. Evans said.
be of good stature.
Hey.
So, last and final question, and we'll get to that coming in a
Mm-hmm.
second. In your vision for the future, what are your hopes and aspirations for gender equality? And how do you plan to contribute to that vision?
I think I plan to
Or how do you
contribute.
plan to continue to work towards that vision?
To again keep tapping into both my feminine side and my masculine side, and not just pick one over the other, and just also continuing to be a voice,
Mhm.
not only for myself but also for my community, so that it will inspire and empower other women to do the same. You know, I was going to bring up another point as you two were talking about the masculine and feminine. I think where men tend to get it wrong is where they think that, well, oh, if I embrace my feminine side, that's going to make me less of a man. It actually doesn't. It's going to help you understand the woman more, and it's also going to help you create a space of empathy and compassion, not only for her but also for yourself.
I can second that. I do feel like that tapping into that or me being pretty much raised by my mom has allowed me to I can't say my previous relationship before my marriage. Uh Even though quote unquote I was still kind of the same person and I could what's the word I'm looking for? Possibly understand women a little bit in a sense. Um, but I think I do more now because I went through those relationships. But I enjoy being able to dab in what people consider the male feminine aspect of myself and then come back and also jump into what society considers to be a male aspect, masculinity and whatnot, because that it helps me love her
Yeah.
how she should be loved, you know, and or be available for her. Because if I'm hard and always on the chest out movement, if she comes to me hurt and broken, I'm not going to be able to sympathize with her,
Hmm.
you know? So I get that.
It'll also create a space for you to love yourself too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that. So any men that are listening or that may see this later on, there's no such thing as being a wimp when it comes to tapping into your feelings or making yourself vulnerable, especially to your partner. We bitch and moan about having her create a safe space. What about creating a safe space for yourself?
Hmm.
At some point, that has to be established first before I can even tell her what a safe space for me is. And I think that also goes with I know this off subject of femininity and whatnot, but um, I can't expect I can't expect her to know that I'm going to love her correctly if she's not explained how she wants to be loved. I think a lot of people tend
That
to,
speaks directly to femininity because that allows me the opportunity to be able to communicate what it is I need from you, and in order for you to be able to provide that for me.
yeah, but there's this thing going around, and what a lot of women say, "I don't tell a person about you or about your past and all this, and don't give that man um uh
Don't tell all your business at once. So you, oh, okay,
don't give
I get what
don't
you're saying.
give him the
Don't
ammunition to sit, cause and
don't tell him. Don't tell someone all your deepest darkest secrets because it can backfire on you or
yeah,
you people use it
Yep.
negatively towards you. But if that would become a matter of discernment for me at that for a person at this point, if you are paying attention to yourself, you're sure of myself, and I'm walking in my femininity. I have my energy balanced. I know who I am. I know where I'm walking into, what I want to do, where I'm going, and I say I want to put my trust in you. I put my trust in you with hopes that your intentions are good.
right,
Hmm.
And if you allow it to backfire on me and you take that and use it against me, then shame on you because I know who I am. I know what I've been through and I'm walking in my femininity. Now, yes, I am going to be probably pissed. My feelings are going to be hurt
right,
because I trusted you and you betrayed me. So I think that insight is you're allowing the person you're with to be in their femininity, to be that vulnerable person, to be able to express those feelings of pain and hurt and whatever else, and what brings them joy and understanding their past and how they came to be where they are. Because honestly, we can't decide whether we're feminine or masculine or in femininity or masculinity without looking in the past and saying, hey, this is what brought me to where I am. This is what is helping me give birth to what needs to be given birth to in order for me to be the person that I am today.
right. You're so cute and sexy when you talk
Love it, Lisa.
like that.
Thank you.
So, Miss Camille, that ends our questionnaire of the night.
Oh, where can they find you
I was
on
just gonna
social
say, look at you, get
media?
out my head, girl, get out my head.
I can say most of our people are on YouTube, so
I
I'm gonna
do
go to
have I do
YouTube.
have your information that you have provided me in the description, but for those that are
Listening
not,
live
yeah,
and
they're
haven't
listening
looked at it.
live and haven't looked at it, let us know where we can find you at.
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Camille A. McLean. It's Camille because that's my middle name. It's on Willie, and then McLean Maclean.
Okay. And do you have any big things coming up here in the next couple of weeks or before the year's out?
Well, I started my own business.
Okay, what you
Okay.
started?
So I started my own company back in July. So I'm looking to start a social media consulting agency.
Beautiful.
Now, what
Yeah.
does that consist of?
So it'll consist of content creation. Like I want to start small.
Okay.
So it'll just be social media consulting, content creation, and creating social media strategies. Um, being a creator who is of color, I find that a lot of us are kind of put on the back burner when it comes to securing brand deals and compensation. So I want to be that voice and that person who helps not only find creators of color, but also present them with the right opportunities and also ensure that they're getting compensated correctly.
Okay. Oh, look at you, girl. You go ahead.
That's beautiful. Awesome.
I'm so proud of you. And again, um, I'm forever following you. You do have a support in us, definitely.
Thank
And
you.
I pray that other people like myself, especially girls, and even women, find you and see the positive aspect of what you're trying to induce when it comes to this. Because again, like I said, I'm not knocking anybody in their journey or what they're doing. I just like the way that your deliverance is when it comes to this aspect of feminine journeys and whatnot, using that title and that word. Um, yours have your your look of it
Your
is
perspective.
your perspective of it. Thank you, baby. Is I don't know. It has a more cleaner vibe to it in a sense. You know, it's honest. Um, I don't see it. I see it like focusing on you guys versus Jesus, like see, tell us the
They're
game go.
saying take your
Sounds
butt
like
to
me.
bed.
uh, but yeah, so I like the fact what you're doing, and I totally appreciate you coming up and you allowing us to interview you and talk about that. Not only focusing on that, but also I'm entwining it with relationship talk. So again, I'm so privileged to have you on with us, and I can see you doing great things in the future.
Thank you so much. And thank you and Lisa for having me on the show. I
Oh,
wanted to
no
wear
problem.
Lisa's earrings because they're
Yeah,
just so beautiful. And I'm like, I wonder
thank
if she's going
you.
to notice.
I did notice. They're beautiful, beautiful. I really haven't been on my game as far as making any earrings or doing anything new because I'm in school. So I've been focusing on that.
He's gonna become a
So
doctor.
shout out to Lady Luxury Designs LLC for the beautiful earrings Miss Camille is wearing tonight.
See,
Compliments
see,
of
get
yours
on that.
truly.
Support Black women, y'all. These are beautiful.
Yes, ma'am. I'm glad you enjoyed
My
them.
baby gonna be a doctor.
Oh, I'm trying to
Ain't no
get there.
Wait,
trying.
what are you in school for?
I'm going to school for nursing. My goal is to become a nurse practitioner, and I think I have been all the more encouraged to do obstetrics and gynecology or women's health, um, so that we can
Go,
have
girl.
that good, positive, beautiful Black support, and I can teach my Black queens how to take care of themselves as well as their little girls coming up behind them. So
Oh, to
Well,
come see
kudos
you
that's the
to
do
big
it.
you.
goal.
I gotta put a wig on to come get an appointment with you.
Boy, stop. No, 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 no.
You don't. That
Oh,
Nurse
man.
practitioners can do general practice as well, but I do think I want to make my focus on women.
so
LaRon, you are a spoiled man.
what?
He is.
No,
Hmm.
You are
no.
spoiled.
Uh, we have bad internet reception. What are you talking?
He is very spoiled.
Nah, nah.
Yes, you are spoiled. My mom tells that to my dad all the time. She's like, "Do you realize how spoiled you are?"
Hmm.
My dad's like, and I'm like, "You better nod your head, boy. You getting loved on by a Black woman. That's the best
Hmm.
kind of love you could ever get as a man."
All this goodness,
I'm saying,
Oh no,
all this positive femininity.
oh no, no.
period. You tell him, girl.
You gonna spoil me later on?
See, there you go, acting like a whole masculine man.
Boy,
Done spoil the moment.
Ah,
I
ah,
tell you,
ah.
cutting up on live. Oh my god.
But we do appreciate you again, and by all means, if at any point you want to be a part of anything, let us know, and we shall yeah, we'll get back with you. But I am watching you, lady. Keep doing great things, okay?
Shout it
thank
out for Miss
you.
Camille.
Thank you for having me.
Woo!
And I would love to come back on the show. This was fun.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Great. We'd love to have you back on.
All
Okay,
right. Well, you have
let's
a great night, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
of course we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much.
All
You're
right.
welcome. Bye
Bye.
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 All right, guys. This has been beautiful, beautiful,
Yeah, another
beautiful.
great show. I do apologize, guys, that it has been an absence. A couple of our guests came across some not technical
Issues.
difficulties, just some issues that
Life be life.
yeah, life be life, and so that's why we had such a big break. We do have another break coming up. We won't have our next guest. So actually, our last guest will be on November. And if she's watching this,
Oh
I just
yeah,
have
she
to.
just commented. Pew, pew,
Oh,
pew.
that's the boss. Merry birthday. In November she's gonna be on, and we get to talk to her about having a merry birthday
Anything else she wants to talk about?
and yeah, but we're gonna talk about her book, and it basically stems and circles around relationships as well. Um, the
Hey, she said you're fired.
But until then, guys, we totally appreciate you all. And if you have any, you know, topics that you would like for us to talk about in the near future, on next shows and whatnot, by all means,
Y'all
DM
know
us.
where to find
Yeah,
us
you know where to find us.
on all social media platforms. Miss and Miss Take Over the World, The Sofa
Pillow
Pillow
Talk
Talk
on YouTube
on YouTube and
and
on our
podcast.
podcast. There's
Yep.
a place for you to leave a message, leave a question, all of the above. And if you got our phone number, just call or text us. You know where to find us.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time.
Toodaloo.